So I think the first major trend, which many of us are experiencing today, is hybrid working. So where right now, some of us are going to the office 2 days, 3 days, or not at all. I do think the environment of hybrids changed Red Tech because we're using technology more and more, whether that's collaboration tools such as Microsoft Teams, collaboration tools like Zoom. The reason this is important is what we do requires a lot of collaboration, and some of that's not happening in the office. The other reason why this has changed is, think from a privacy infosec. We're exchanging even more information than we ever have through emails and other channels. So for me, the biggest trend has been we're increasing the use of technology. Zoom is a classic example. 3 years ago, people may not have been familiar with it. And that's not going away. That's a trend we just have to adjust to going forward. So I believe the RegTech trends for 2022 are a few. Number one is people and talent. We're in a different climate than we were a few years ago, where there's a war on talent. So the first is understanding how do we attract the right talent to the financial industries? Not only attract them, how do we retain them? The second one is understanding how we use emerging technologies, whether that's cloud, cyber, and more importantly, how do we incorporate that in traditional banks where our technology could be a little bit older, we have large integrated systems, and that also goes to the perspective of how do we educate our own employees, stakeholders, and regulators on when we're using that new technology, we're using it for a business outcome, and it ultimately doing it in a safe way. So if I think about RegTech evolving the industry in 10 to 20 years, I think there's going to be a lot less humans involved. Where I think that makes our job even more important and critical is to think about this from a service aspect. How do we cater for, how do we design AI, machine learning? What are the unique things we can do? But you're not going to need as many humans doing what they do today, which actually presents new opportunities, new challenges, different roles. So for me, I think some of the roles that exist today won't be here in 10 to 20 years, but actually that's a great opportunity. So I'm excited for the kids going to school now because there's going to be more opportunity for them than there was today. So it's an interesting question because the banks right now are facing a lot of challenges. Often you'll hear we're about to enter into a recession. So I think the first thing is, how do we think about cost? So how do we manage all the risk in front of us, not just for today, but in the future? So let's use cyber as an example. Cyber's been an emerging trend for the last few years, and it's not going away. So we need to make sure not only do we invest now, we invest in the future, but also we educate our business customers on the best way to use it. Now, when I think about cyber, a lot of the banks, financial industries have done a lot to protect themselves, but now we have to think about third parties. So we engage with more and more third parties on a regular basis. So how do we think about protecting them, privacy concerns, et cetera? And then I'll go back to people. There's a war on talent, attrition, retention, and some people are jumping from one organization to another or leaving the financial industry altogether. How do we attract them, make the roles compelling? And that comes from leadership. The best way to bridge the gap between best practice and implementation is talk to employees and customers. It's not about implementing technologies. It's really about thinking about what are the outcomes, the benefits, and piloting with our customers and employees. Events like these are critically important. I've already seen it coming here today, because I've connected with 2 or 3 people that I haven't connected with in the last few years, and I'm meeting new connections. So for me, I'm an old school guy. I love building connections and deepening relationships, and events like this do it every time.